You're live on DSTV, channel 421, Go TV 144. This is Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mino. Our headlines this hour. Minority in Parliament demands accountability on the operations of Frontiers Healthcare Services at the Kotoka International Airport following government review of the COVID-19 restrictions.
How much have they made since their operation? How much is going to government? We need to know. Frontier Healthcare Services has no business in the Kotoka International Airport right after the announcement of the president.
Meanwhile, there's relief for residents and persons doing business at the country's land borders as those entry points are reopened nearly 2 years after it was shut down due to the spread of the COVID-19.
The reopening is going to have a positive impact on transport business. But what's the transport? Yes, the road transport now is the one serious mode or one mode that the whole nation use more than any other thing. It's going to facilitate trade.
Also coming up, head of Clocksack takes on government as he claims agreements reached at the recent National Labour Conference were taken on their blind side.
We are at Kwawu, yes, but our attention was never drawn to the fact that there was a declaration. Neither did we make any input into this declaration, so we are disassociating ourselves from this declaration.
We have details for you, and later, I haven't abandoned the economy. That's Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's response to his critics who say he's been silent on the country's economy.
Sometimes people say, well, we thought you were an economist, but you are doing so much in IT space. Have you left economics behind? No, not at all.
And later here on Joy News Prime, an oath of celibacy, the life of a Catholic priest and those who failed the test.
Deny ourselves, or when we vow for the vow of chastity, or when we become priests without marrying, it means we want to forgo a particular family and embrace a whole family in a chastity way.
At 8 p.m, Charles will come your way with Prime Business. Charles, what's ahead?
Well, tonight, Cocoa Board is sounding the alarm over a hike in fertilizer prices bound to affect cocoa farmers across the country. It comes as the war in Ukraine intensifies and disrupts global supply chain.
The basic ingredients or elements needed in producing fertilizers and other chemicals are going to be difficult to come by. So we have to brace ourselves for the coming years, maybe 1 or 2 years, and expect that prices of fertilizers are not going to be the same.
And at 8:30 p.m, we have Prime Sports. Gary, what should we look forward to?
Ahead of Tuesday's crucial World Cup playoff qualifier against Nigeria, former Ghana goalkeeper Bukari Damba jumps to the defense of under fire Jordan Ayew.
Everybody, have the right of opinion. Jordan is an asset for Ghana.
Tonight, the minority in Parliament is demanding accountability on the operations of Frontier Healthcare Services. We have details of these stories and more here on Joy News Prime. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. I'm Ernest Mino to the details now. The minority in Parliament is demanding accountability on the operations of Frontier Healthcare Services following the review of COVID-19 restrictions by government. President Akufo-Addo, in an address Sunday evening, announced that fully vaccinated travelers into Ghana will no longer need a PCR test to allow them entry into the country through the KIA now, and they'll also not need to have a test at the airport upon arrival. Whilst welcoming this decision, the ranking member on the Health Committee of Parliament tells Joy News it is now time for government to fully render accounts on how much has been generated through the operations of Frontiers. Kwabena Mintah Kanda, however, wants the company to cease operations immediately.
Yes, I understand the president to be saying that the testing at the Kotoka International Airport, the antigen test, has been scrapped or, suspended. But there are few clarifications that must be made. Yes, I agree that anybody entering Ghana or leaving Ghana must be vaccinated. And so if you are not vaccinated, you should be tested. But I don't think it should be Frontier Healthcare. In any case, they don't do PCR tests. It's antigen tests they were doing. And so if there's going to be any test at all, I think that it shouldn't be Frontier Healthcare. The reason is simple, that they have duped the country enough, because there's nowhere in the world that antigen test costs $150 or $50. There's nowhere in the world. It is too exorbitant. And so that is one. The second point has to do with the accountability. How much have they made since their operation? How much is going to government? We need to know. We need to know. To scrutiny.
Very well, but when you say that the testing at the airport shouldn't be done by Frontiers, you're essentially saying that we should send them packing, because that is why they set up. And the president indicated that they did that at their own cost. So if we send them out of the place, who should and at what cost?
When I heard the president trying to defend the Frontier healthcare, I was so sad, and it was rather unfortunate to say the least. I heard the president say that they built the infrastructure there themselves at their own cost and all what have you. Yes, those mobile equipment, simple equipment that is used in testing the COVID or doing the antigen test, yes, they brought them. But the infrastructure was already there. If you go to the Kotoka International Airport, if you have ever gone to them before, they are in a structure in fact, is part of the Terminal 3, solely partitioning that they have done. So they haven't built anything at the Kotoka International Airport. And if you care to know, they've made millions of dollars. And that is where we need to know how much is coming to the state and how much they've made. We can easily know, because I've told you, reagents or the materials in using the materials we use in testing COVID-19, the antigen test, doesn't cost more than $2 in any part of the world. So if you charge $50 or $150, we need to know how much is coming to the state. And so I think that Frontier Healthcare Services has no business in the Kotoka International Airport right after the announcement of the president. And the question as to who should? So there we have a number of, in fact, the initial stage, the question was even, why not Noguchi? Because when this pandemic broke out, it was Noguchi, KCCR who were at the forefront of the testing. So, going behind Noguchi to give it to Frontier Healthcare Services was another whole drama. Okay, so there are a number of even public labs that can do these tests. There's relief for residents and persons doing business at the country's land borders as those entry points are reopened nearly 2 years after it was shut down due to the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Now, at the Aflao border, residents have been recounting the difficulties they have faced since the closure. But at Elubo, the people want government to facilitate access to loans to revive their businesses. Samuel Kojo Brace reports.
Ghanaians, especially traders along Ghana's border towns, have hailed the president's decision to open the country's land borders. They say this will make life easier and meaningful to them. Recounting how difficult it has been for their businesses for the past 2 years when the borders were closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, some Ghanaians who spoke with Joy News said they are sure that businesses will improve by the day and life will be easier for them once the borders have been reopened.
Most of our customers are from Cote d'Ivoire, and then the closure of the border had many effects on our business. There are some staffs that has even expired. Because since the closure of the border, it's been 2 years. And then there will be some staffs that no one will buy it. When the border was not closed, you go to Accra and then take staffs. It won't take 2 or 3 days, or maybe a week, and then it will finish. You see, then you go back and then buy some stuff again and then replace it. The closure of the border affected everything.
About 2 years ago, Nana be a two border no hoshi no bebre ase. Nti sese na wa bie no. Ya hwe na nim se obebo na Cote d'Ivoire for so bio model because any Cote d'Ivoire for ya na e dili. Sese na wa bie de no ya hwe na nim se obebie Cote d'Ivoire for de se de be ya e na e betumi adidwa na kama.
We have been waiting for this for a very long time. So what we'll be waiting for has come to pass. This is what I will say. And I am strongly believing that because of the 2 years exodus that we had, the change will be gradually. So on the first point, we appreciate the president and every other machinery that has made this impossible for us, that they've opened the land borders for us. Our business will move on. The reopening is going to have a positive impact on our transport business. But what's the transport? Yes, the road transport now is the one serious mode or one mode that the whole nation use more than any other thing. It's going to facilitate trade because goods moving from the port here to the inner land and then to the across the country on transit, they are all going to pass through the land border, and the movement of the people without resistance will help us to be in good business. So
MC for Ketu South, Maxwell Lugudo, has also been speaking to Joy News. He hopes the Togo side of the border will soon be reopened to help travelers.
The opening of the borders today means a lot to the poor of Ketu South. Ketu South is a very unique constituency in such a way that it's the only border, if I'm not mistaken, in the whole West Africa that when you cross, you can enter into another country's capital direct. And it makes a lot of people travel from surrounding areas to Togo to buy whatever, to do transaction of business. So for some time when the border is closed, it's like nothing is going on. So you see everybody's happy, I'm happy myself. At least that pressure is being released from me. You know, my MP is the Honorable Chifago Mashi. Anytime I meet her, if I greet her, good afternoon, madam, the reply is, when is you and your father going to open the border? I'm sure today, as the border is open, and she will also, the pressure will release. But unfortunately, the Togo side is not yet open. The information that I'm gathering, I learned it's possible they will also open it either today or tomorrow, which we are hoping very soon that the inflow and outflow of people from Ghana to Togo.
The Immigration Service is, however, warning against the use of illegal routes. Here's Sector Commander for Aplao, Assistant Commissioner Frederick Bandodu.
The border has been opened as directed by Excellency the President. This morning we opened it. So officers and men are all on duty at the border. Some have also been sent to the unapproved route. Actually, the BT9, which is the approved pedestrian crossing, has also been opened. If you are traveling beyond Ghana, to observe whatever protocols the Togolese authorities have put in place. Any traveler or any foreigner who wants to enter Ghana or exit Ghana have to go through the main Aflao border. So if you go and pass there and you are seen, or they see that you'll be able to cross in, you'll be arrested and brought back to the office.
Let's now hear from the business community, and at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle here in Accra. Some Nigerians engaged in commerce have welcomed the reopening of the borders. They are hopeful the reopening will revive their businesses.
What's your name?
My name is Chinedu.
Okay, Chinedu, so quickly, how would you say the closure of the border affected you?
Actually, the closure of the border affected me because some goods that we order is be seized from border because the door is not open. Okay. So because of that, some other businesses that we are doing, it makes slow. So then right now I hear that they opened it up. So I'm happy about it because now business will be moving the way it used to move before.
So everywhere, it affects everybody because now you can't travel. You can't travel. You are facing many things in road because I hear say they have already opened the border. I'm very happy. I'm very happy for that.
Starting from the year 2020 to 2022, it was very, very outrageous to us, especially the businessmen, because the movement was interfered with. There is no longer fast movement based on going to Nigeria, going to Togo, going to Mali, all these countries to import goods. This affected us actually. Recently, I traveled to Nigeria. It was a very dangerous experience. traveling with my wife and the family with a flying boat. What if the boat sink? It will be a dangerous story to me and the family. So the closure of border affected even every living soul in West Africa. It affected all. Because normally, I don't base on only accessory business. You can go to Nigeria, bring clothes, you bring it here, you sell. When the exchange is good here, you can bring things here. When it is good in Nigeria, you can go to Nigeria and buy. But this thing clashed everything. Everything was crashed. And that is, I think, this contributed to 100% of the hardship in Nigeria and Ghana. Even the presidents and all these, our politicians, they know.
And still on the easing of restrictions, some vendors of nose masks are calling on President Akufo-Addo to reconsider the decision to relax the enforcement of the compulsory wearing of face masks. The traders say they have invested heavily in the purchase of the commodity, and the announcement will further cripple their already ailing businesses. Michael Ashale has more in this report.
No one is buying the face masks. They'll stop buying.
Matilda Tete is one of many that sell nose masks in the Odona transport station. Clearly, she's not happy patronage of face mask has taken a nosedive. For nearly 2 years, wearing of a face mask was the order of the day. It became a necessary requirement, giving way to a lucrative business, the sale of face mask.
Box was 6 cedi. I sold a box of face mask for 7 cedis, or 5 masks for 1 cedi. 1 cedi. You call fail 5 1 cedi, or 5 cedi. She called home a box sell or 1 cedi. I sold mine 2 masks for 1 cedi.
But that is all changing. On March 27, 2022, President Akufo-Addo reversed the mandatory wearing of face mask.
The wearing of face masks is no longer mandatory. I encourage all of you, though, to continue to maintain enhanced hand hygiene practices and avoid overcrowded gatherings.
Matilda wished this announcement came at a time when she didn't have boxes of face masks to sell.
There was always a mad rush for nose masks, especially when the president came to address Ghanaians. But now that he says it's not mandatory, many people will stop. I wished he waited a bit. Maybe a month from today, so we clear our goods.
Teresa Boateng also sells face masks. She thinks the announcement will cripple the already dying business venture.
Sales have become slow. I want to entreat people to continue wearing the mask.
Meanwhile, many Ghanaians think it is days early for the mask to be removed. For some of them, they will continue to wear their face mask.
I think it's too early for us not to wear the nose mask.
Now in Kumasi, citizens are glad the wearing of face masks is no longer mandatory. Lava Firm's Emmanuel Bright-Kweku has been speaking to some of them.
Sometime in 2020, President Akufo-Addo announced it will be an offense not to wear a nose mask in public, which was punishable by law with a prison sentence or a fine. However, in his latest update on COVID-19 on Sunday, he has eased restrictions on wearing a nose mask, which according to him is due to the rapid decline in COVID-19 cases and a significant number of the population being fully vaccinated. Today, it is no longer compulsory to wear a mask. We hit the streets to find out from people what they make of this decision.
I will be worried if someone contracts the disease because I haven't vaccinated.
If the president says the infection has declined, then I will heed to what he said and not wear the mask.
So Nana say Yalena Kofom, Yamia Duma Yalena Kofom dia. You say it's him, so I can say you enjoy the yes, you enjoy and say be.
So me basmati.
I have never worn the nose mask before. I feel uncomfortable when I wear it. I don't believe the virus exists, so I have not vaccinated.
I mean, nose mask go back when I say bida. Nose mask back me say bida. So I'm saying me for a obi am say ye for. Te me call am kasa me say na mama ya wear say president obi answer. Me tears mo mbeka. Nzo mo gaza mo mpene ma me enyu inside ya. Na sa na me call na possible dey kwa bia say na me bu do na no. Me wem. When me wem say president kan. I no problem. So me be a wadi ma ba say be ya dey nya opa. Wo dim gan say me nose mask. If yes me enche. Obi o plan bi in fact me what say we can cause uko ujum for instance nipa na etata so if trotro nipa na etata so ni ma obi.
I am worried since we will no longer be wearing the mask. If everyone had vaccinated, that wouldn't have been a problem.
But so the idea of
we are scared of the coronavirus. We will still continue wearing it, even though the president said that it is not compulsory.
Now, away from COVID-19, the Forum for Public Sector Associations and Unions is strongly accusing government of creating an avenue to spend public funds under the guise of removing ghost names from the public room. This comes on the back of measures announced by the Finance Minister, Kenneth Friata, that government will embark on a drive to help resuscitate the ailing economy. But speaking exclusively to Joy News, Chairman of the Forum for Public Sector Associations and Unions, Isaac Bampuado, described the move by government as a scam.
When we talk of ghost names, where are the ghost names coming from? Let's look at, for the past 4 years, the number of times that government has come out. There are ghost names. We are going to clean it. They've come out with, the Auditor General has come out. They said they were doing, is it in this national IDD to wipe up ghost names, and we still have ghost names. I think it is fake news. It's an avenue to give out consultancies. That's all. We are yet to see the ghost. Because if there are ghost names, let's take the 4 years. The number of times government come about ghost name. I've not seen anybody being taken to court or being punished for putting ghost names into the payroll. So go and ask them, what are the ghosts? Who are doing it? Because there's been a lot of consultancies that have been awarded the name of ghost names. What have been the recommendations? Go and ask them. And every time ghost names, when there are inefficiencies, you blame it on ghost names. Why are the ghosts? Myself, I was declared a ghost. And do I look like a ghost? I was declared a ghost. That ghost thing, my name was, we went in there. And all those things they said were ghost names, the next month, all their names came back onto the payroll. So it's fake news. It's a scam, it's a scam. They should give us evidence. For the past 4 or 5 years, not even for about 10 years, every time ghost things. Where are the ghosts? Nobody has been sent to court for putting ghost names into the payroll.
He has, however, indicated that the agreements reached at the recent National Labour Conference were taken on the blind side of CLOGSAG and the Forum.
Cool. And interestingly enough, we only got to know about this declaration from the press conference of the Minister of Finance. That was in last Thursday. Our attention was never drawn to a declaration when we were at Kou. Nor did we make any inputs to that declaration. It's come to us as a surprise. That's why we are disassociating ourselves with this declaration, because we didn't make any inputs to it. Neither was our attention drawn at Kou. It's a surprise. Well, those people who signed, we got to know about it first from the press conference of the finance minister. So maybe he can give us information on this declaration that he's talking about. Well, what we are saying is that we are 12 years, but our attention was never drawn to the fact that there was a declaration. Neither did we make any input into this declaration. So we are disassociating ourselves from this declaration. To us, when it comes to the single smile, we know there's a going white paper. And we expect that the decisions or recommendations.
Now, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has responded to critics who in recent times questioned his absence and silence at a time when the economy is facing growth challenges. Dr. Bawumia has for some time now focused on the administration's digitization agenda in a bid to prevent wastage, improve efficiency, and eliminate corruption within the public sector, with little about Ghana's economic outlook. But addressing participants of the Agric Student Bootcamp at the Jubilee House Monday, Dr. Bawumia responded to the critics and his political opponents, describing the intervention he's leading as a big deal.
We've been doing things for so many years after independence, and that transformation wasn't coming. And so, coming into government and heading the economic management team, the president gave me that mandate and gave me that opportunity to focus on how best we can transform and modernize Ghana to make sure that some of the challenges, some of the risks that, people who just want to operate in our economy are facing. So how we mitigate those risks, how we make this economy an efficient economy. And this is why I have focused on digitalization. Sometimes people say, well, we thought you were an economist, but you are doing so much in IT space. Have you left economics behind? No, not at all. In fact, it's because of the economy that I'm focusing on the digitization. Because without building those pillars, our economy will just not be able to stand on its own feet. We need to build those pillars to allow all our sectors in the economy to be able to compete. And so we decided to address some of the major bottlenecks that businesses face, you in the agri sector face, through digitalization. First of all, whatever problems that exist and make this economy inefficient affects everybody. Whether you are in agri or industry or services, you will face those problems. If you don't know who you are dealing with, if identity, just establishing your identity is a problem, and you go to Dr. Kofi Mensah at Agric Development Bank and you say to Dr. Kofi Mensah, I want to borrow money for my business. Now, they need to establish your identity, first of all. And if that is not clear, if there is any doubt about what your identity is, there may even doubts about your age and all of that, you are not likely to get that loan if you don't have a track record that goes with your identity. You have a problem. And we had a situation in Ghana where for 60 years, we have a 30 million population, but we don't have unique identity numbers. And this is why we introduced and sort of went ahead to implement, because in 2008, the National ID Card Project was introduced in 2008. But when we came into office in 2017, we thought that was the key pillar for digitization of this economy.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mino. Still to come, an oath of celibacy, the life of a Catholic priest and those who failed the test.
ourselves, or when we vow for the vow of chastity, or when we become priests without marrying, it means we want to forgo a particular family and embrace a whole family in a chastity way.
We have details of this story and more still here on Joy News Prime. After the break, don't go away. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, it is necessary for some internal reforms to take place within Ghana's judiciary. That's according to former President John Dramani Mahama, who is expressing displeasure over what he describes as politicization of state institutions. Speaking in the U.S. over the weekend, John Mohama says Ghanaian judges must rise to the occasion.
We do have problems with the judiciary, I must say, and I think that it's necessary for some reforms to take place there. Internal reforms. It's necessary for the Chief Justice or whoever is in charge to make some reforms. Like the chairman said, since then we've been busy. We mentioned what we've done. We organized retreats immediately. The first one was in Ho. It was a national retreat. And so all the regions, the 16 regions came, gave their reports. And it was very interesting to listen to some of the reports. It made us realize that we needed to tighten a few things, you know, because in some of the regions, the seats we lost, it was not, you know, we shouldn't have lost them. Yeah, and so either because two people did not agree or somebody wanted to show that, look, if without me, you can't win this seat and all that. And so while you are busy campaigning, somebody is undermining you. And so there are some seats that we have normally won that, you know, we lost. We comfortably should have gone above 150 seats, you know. But even then, as the chairman said, there are some of the seats, you know, that we won, you know, but our arms were twisted. For instance, the chairman, if you look at the pink sheets and you calculate, the NDC candidate won, and yet the presiding officer was forced to declare for the MPP candidate. The case is in court, and we're hoping that justice will be done, and that seat will return to NDC.
And we stay with the NDC because supporters in the Wale city of the Northeast region have served notice they will resist any attempt by government to demolish a newly built party office in the town. The party has been accused of encroaching on the premises of the Wale Municipal Education Directorate. Following complaints from authorities of the Education Directorate to the regional minister, the municipal chief executive was directed to take legitimate steps together with the Regional Lands Commission to demolish the structure. But in response, supporters of the NDC massed up at the premises of the structure, vowing to protect it as they insist the land was rightfully acquired by the party. Liazu Tanko has the rest of the story.
The dispute over this piece of land at the Municipal Education Service Directorate, where the party has put up a structure for its supporters, had been going on between the party leadership and the authorities at the Municipal Assembly. After the party rejected the request from the Assembly to relocate the structure, the matter was taken to the Palace of the Paramount Chief of Wungu and subsequently to the Nairi. However, both parties are claiming the chief's rule in their favor, leading to a stalemate that compelled the MCE to report the matter to the regional minister. The regional minister, speaking over the weekend at the 20th anniversary celebration of the Wunaba, indicated his willingness protecting all government land from encroachment, and thus directed the Wale MCE to take steps to demolish the NDC structure. The minister also directed a legal action be initiated against the NDC constituency chairman, who was said to have physically assaulted the municipal town and country planning officer over the dispute. In response, supporters of the NDC wearing red banners massed at the structure in protest against the minister's directives. Addressing the media, the regional communication officer Imoro Razak described the claim that the party structure had been built on a public land as complete falsehood. He also denied the accusation of assault against the constituency chairman.
The regional minister instructed the West Mamprese Municipal Chief Executive, Honorable Armiao Sumu Laki, to demolish the NDC party office with the claim that the said party office is sitting on a government land. That is complete falsehood, because the NDC has all documentations to authenticate ownership of the land, with the said documents duly and fully signed by the chiefs concerned. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, however, the NDC in Walewale constituency will rather want to encourage the regional minister to channel his energy towards combating the rampant armed robbery within the Walewale municipality.
It's a call to service, priesthood, a call that not so many people will be able to answer. With more than a decade of training required and very strict vows, including an oath to be celibate for life, it's no child's play to be a Catholic priest. Yet, it is a vocation that many take pride in. In the following report, my colleague Justice Bedu tells the story of a newly ordained priest and his hopes of keeping his vows.
Happy moment for a mother and her son. It's a day before Father Stephen Daniels holds his first Mass at the St. John the Evangelist Parish, the Catholic church that he was born into. He's a freshly minted Catholic priest. Town folk who saw him grow up and those who know his family have poured onto the streets in celebration.
Many people, they are now shouting and they are thanking God for me, because nobody thought that I can be a priest today. I can also see myself as a Catholic priest, the first ever priest also in my family.
It's the morning after, a Sunday. The church is packed to full capacity. Being a priest in the Catholic Church comes with very strict requirements. First, it takes more than 10 years for one to go through training.
Not everyone has this opportunity. Not every family gets this honor. I am overjoyed. God has given us a gift. I am lost for words. Because of this honor he has done, I will continue to serve him till the day I go to rest with my Maker.
They take and live by 3 vows: an oath of poverty, an oath of obedience, and an oath of celibacy, which requires that you are not supposed to have sex with any woman, and of course, not bear children.
To be a chaste and a human way is not easy. You have to forgo a particular person that you have in life and embrace everybody as a family. Because when you go into the marriage life, you are going to embrace a particular family, then you raise up your kids when God bless you with kids. Now, when we deny ourselves, or when we vow for the vow of chastity, or when we become priests without marrying, it means we want to forgo a particular family and embrace a whole family in a chastity way.
The Catholic Church revolves heavily around its priests. Several key parts of its service, like communion, cannot happen without a priest in the church.
I gave birth to 6 boys and 3 girls. There are people who do not have children at all. So, if God has given me 6, and He in His own wisdom wants only one to come do his work, to carry the cross. Who am I to stop him? Because my son will not give birth? No.
Not many people are able to live by these requirements, and so many fall off. And for those who stay true to the end of their training, like Father Daniels, it's a big accomplishment. It's uncertain how long the church would hold on to these very, very strict standards for its priests. But for those who choose the vocation as a way of life, like Father Daniels, it's a choice worth making. And he says he will spend each day in the rest of his life keeping to his calling with joy. Justice Beidu, Joy News, Abua, in the Western region.
A very high calling. My name is Ernest Mino, and this is Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. On Worry 10, IB has the latest in the world of showbiz for you. Stay with us.